people that in the history, you know that if there is a powerful side, powerful government, and shutting down people and deleting people's posts and censoring them, automatically you're gonna assume that they are the bad side, right? Because they're filtering, they're censoring, they're shutting down people.
Yeah.
They're not agreeing. Just because you're not agreeing with people, you're deleting their posts. Are you kidding me? This is the freedom of speech. You are not allowed to talk because you don't think like me. Are you serious? And they don't even see this. Like, by just only seeing this stuff, you should realize which side of history you are.
Bring up the energy a little bit.
I'll be doing that in a second.
Bring up the energy. All right.
I'm waiting for you guys until you ask me to talk. Really?
I think Zeus is chewing something. He's about to
This is my
start.
favorite episode. This is my favorite episode.
I'm waiting for Tom to hit record.
It's recording.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
All right. Well, hello. Welcome back to the Friends of Zeus podcast. This is episode 101. I think I'm on a roll. I don't think I'm going to be screwing up the numbers anymore.
No.
We can be found on the YouTube, the Facebook, the Rumble, and all your other podcast formats like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Stitcher, I believe, and a few others that I'm probably not mentioning. Tonight, we're going to rehash an older subject. We were talking about Mahabad a few weeks ago, Tom and I. It was one of our few two-person episodes that we've done, and I thought it went pretty well. But so if Lena, if you don't mind, Lena's our guest. She is actually, where are you from? I know Iran, but whereabouts?
West part, Kurdistan.
So near Mahabad, then.
Correct.
Okay. So the funny thing is, I'm just to tell how we met. I was at the UPS store mailing off a package, and I'm talking to Tom at that moment. I think it was you that I was talking to, Tom, about the episode.
Maybe.
And about, or it was either you or Jason. And I was talking about how screwed up this thing is with Mahsa Amini, who is this woman who she was wearing her hijab either off kilter or wasn't wearing it. I'm not sure of the exact details, but basically like the thought police came in and pulled her in, and next thing you know, she's dead. And for whatever reason, and I mean, it's a good enough reason to be pissed, but for whatever reason, this one really hit home for me. And I was talking about it, and I see this weird girl looking at me.
Hey, now.
And he keeps looking at me.
She doesn't look weird at all to me.
No, I'm just
You
kidding.
should have seen how I was looking at him. He is on the phone, and he's talking about Mahabad and Mahsa Amini, and I'm just so curious, and I can't wait till he's done and ask him why you're talking about, you American? How come you're talking about this stuff? And you keep looking at me like, why this girl is staring at me?
and
That's awesome.
I was probably a little heated when I was talking about it. Like I was like talking angry because it's offensive on all levels.
Absolutely.
But so anyway, so Lena and we talked for a few minutes and we exchanged numbers, and I was like, I get about halfway out the door and I'm like, would you like to come on the show? And we've been waiting for this for about a month. She went to Arizona or something, Scottsdale, was it?
New Mexico, yeah. Arizona and New Mexico.
And here we are. And I'm really excited about this one because Lena's got a great story about like how she got here. And comparisons to how it is over there versus where we're going over here. So I guess I don't want to put you under the gun, but can you kind of give us your backstory, how you ended up here, what caused you to leave the country?
Sure, sure. First of all, I really, really appreciate you guys doing this, having me talking about those people. As I mentioned earlier, these people don't have freedom of speech. They cannot talk. They don't even if they want to, they don't have the internet to be here. So you guys are the voice for them, and this is a great thing you guys are doing. Really blowing my mind, fascinating that you Americans, you don't have to be worried about them, you don't have to talk about them, but you still do, and that's great, and I really appreciate that. Back to my story, I came here almost 6 years ago. Like all immigrants for a better life, and mine was especially American dream. I really, really wanted to get out of that country, but also at the same time, I really wanted to go to America because it's the best country. And like 8 years ago, I had to leave Iran, and with a bunch of lies that you cannot even tell the authorities that you're leaving and you never come back. We had to buy two-way tickets and leave our home. We couldn't sell everything because it would be suspicious.
Right,
We left
right.
the home and just for the sake of it, so we could get out. Me, my mom, and my sister, and 2 dogs, which that's another story. We had to actually get them a Turkish ID and prove that they are a Turkish dogs, because dogs are illegal in Iran. You cannot have dogs.
Really? Wow.
And we don't walk our dogs in Iran. You have it and you have to hide it. And so anyway, we got that, we talked with a, guy that had a shelter, and he was helping Iranian people to get their, pets out of the country if they would go out. So he helped us to get this ID, and with 2 dogs, we got out. 2 years, we were refugees seeking asylum in Turkey because we obviously couldn't do it in Iran. And after 2 years...
May I ask? I'm sorry. Did you have to claim to be from Turkey? Like, would it have been bad if you said you were Iranian and in Turkey?
No. In Turkey, we went with the full, true background in Turkey.
Okay.
But in Iran, only because we had the dogs, we had to prove, we had to say that those dogs are not ours because they have the right to take it, kill them, and fine us.
Wow.
So that's why we did with the dogs. But when we got to Turkey, we explained the whole story about our life and how we got out and why and what we are going to do. And we went through, some interviews with United Nations, and then thanks God at the time, United States was accepting immigrants, and then we got a interview with United States. And after 2 or 3 interviews with United States, also we got the visa. We got the permanent resident. Came here 6 years ago. And yeah, please.
There was a circumstance that you told me about that caused you to have to expedite your leaving. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, it was the year actually, but like 10 years ago. Some of the protests started actually, and I was in the protest. I was arrested, and we were totally peaceful, like not anything like this protest that's going on nowadays. Totally peaceful. We were just sitting on the street and complain about gas price, and that's it. We didn't even insult the authorities, questioning them, nothing. Totally peaceful. But we got arrested, and I was I was in not jail, but you know, the place that they hold you. I don't want to be, you know, for 2 nights, but
The Who's Gal. No, sorry, that's what they call it. It's a slang
Just
term.
a holding station,
Yeah.
I guess.
holding station. Thank you. But
And by the way,
it
we want to
was,
welcome Jack to the show.
oh yes,
Hello,
hello,
Hello.
Jack.
Hi, sorry I'm late.
Sorry.
Go ahead, continue. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good. And it was the most scariest night in my life, the most like the most horrible day and night in my life. The 2 days, 2 nights, and it like I think it was 2 years. It was horrible because it was so scary because we know what they do with you when you go to jail, and you have no right to get a lawyer, you have no right to go to court, to fight for, you know, your freedom, to even talk or you defend yourself, nothing. But I was very, very lucky that my boss actually had a guy, a client. My boss had a client that was one of those big guys in the government, and he literally begged that guy to let me out. And when they did, I knew that they did it. It was just for the, you know, sake of that guy, but they would come after me. I knew it. Not only me, my whole family. And that's the day that we decided, as soon as I got out, that's the day that we decided that we need to get
So
out.
did your friends stay longer then, I'm imagining, in jail? The ones that were protesting with you?
Oh, so many of them I didn't even hear where they were, where they ended up, and like just after a couple years not hearing from them, I assume they are dead.
Wow. Just for protesting the gas prices.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah, only.
It's so bizarre from the American standpoint to even like you just automatically, you, Lena, just automatically assume they're dead. Like if Tom went to jail,
I'd be
and I
dead in
couldn't
10
hear
minutes.
from him, yeah, I wouldn't automatically assume after not talking to him a while that he was dead, being in the US. It's just it's shocking to me how bad it must be there.
Well, I know like some of them that they were executed, and the horrible thing is they don't let your family know. Like the day that they arrested me, I was with my boss actually that day, and I got arrested, but he ran actually, and they couldn't catch him. So, but he knew, like they took me, and he followed the police car. That's how he knew which station they took me and who to call and stuff. But it's at the time that they arrest you, they stop somewhere and they divide you, you know, all the people that they have arrested, and they take, you know, people to different stations. So we cannot talk, we cannot let our families where we are. And if it wasn't for him, I don't know where would I ended up, and probably dead after a couple years. But the problem is, even my family wouldn't know which station I am in. Yeah. They wouldn't even live, and the stations is so weird. It starts from one side of the street, goes in, and then it goes under the ground, and it's, you know, the exit is somewhere in another street. Wow. So you can't even really follow the car to know, you know, like it's horrible. But yeah, I was very lucky, very lucky.
Wow.
Wow.
Well,
oh,
Lena,
I was
yeah.
Sorry, I was talking about some of my friends actually that they were with me. It's horrible that they executed them, and then the next day some of these morality police, that they call them BCG, they go to their family with flowers and some sweets, and they let their family knows that they executed their daughter. And
wow.
Guess what? Guess why they are taking the sweet and the flower? Because they let the family know that last night we raped your girl. And
oh my gosh.
then we executed. So here is, it's like we proposed your girl, your daughter.
That's psychological warfare. I mean,
It's so rule
hard.
in Islam. In Islam says that if you are a virgin, you have a better place in heaven. So they decide instead of Allah, and they rape any women that they are in jail because they don't want to die as a virgin, because virgins have a special place in heaven.
Jesus.
Wow, that's horrible.
It is.
It is.
It's counterintuitive. I mean, the whole idea of Iran and the Ayatollah, when they took charge, it's a religious state.
Yeah.
You would think they would be more gentle and forgiving and follow the Quran and the holy book, but it's like the opposite of what it should be.
If something, actually, they're doing exactly the same thing.
And
Quran
it
is not
doesn't.
a peaceful religion.
Thank you.
Lena, when I was interviewing her, well, when we were having coffee and talking about this, she said that it reminds her of The Walking Dead, like how people just go about their days. She was saying that there's not jobs. It's all scrounging, and she had a job, but you had to do it like under the radar, that kind of thing, right?
Correct. Yeah. Like you have nothing. You can talk. I don't know. Like, ask me what you can do. Nothing. You can eat whatever you want. You can drink whatever you want. You can't go to places you want. You can't even hang out with your husband, with your boyfriend. You can't even hang out with the people you want. You can read the books you want. You can't talk about the things you want. You cannot do anything. Everything is illegal.
Now, as a woman, were you allowed to be working, or were you kind of doing that in secret?
No, women are allowed to work.
Okay.
Yeah. But like so many people are working, but they get paid. Like, I was getting paid every 6 months.
Wow.
Even the employer is poor, and if you want to work, it's better than nothing.
And what school were you allowed to do in terms of schooling?
Schooling, if I was not allowed to go to university, the public universities, because my father was involved in politics and was against the regime. And like 40 years ago, he didn't vote it for these government. And at that time, at the very beginning, he was against them. Then he was arrested. My uncle was actually executed, but my father was one of those 2,000 people that they forgive. Actually, they arrested so many people, they executed so many people at the very beginning, and then they saw so many people are going against them. They were like, oh my God, this is not what we voted for. And then they came up with this, actually, Ayatollah Khomeini had like 2,000 people forgiven, the ones that they were arrested for their political views. And my father was one of those lucky guys, actually.
Wow.
Jeez.
But because of him, the whole family were not allowed to, like, go to university, public university. That is one of the things that we were not allowed to. We couldn't get government jobs, which literally everything is government owned in Iran. And my father neither. My father couldn't find a job. We were like in really bad financial situations all the time because my father couldn't get a job. And it was the same thing for us. We couldn't, my mother, my sister, me, we couldn't get a job. So it was really hard to find a job. And as I said, we were getting paid like every 6 months, every 6 months we were getting paid for 2 weeks probably. And then again, another 6 months, another 2 weeks. So yeah, there was certain things that we couldn't do because of that situation.
So you're telling me that as far as school in general, well, actually, I wanted to just touch on something that we didn't mention at the top of the show. So Lena is Iranian, but she's also a Kurd. And then a woman on top of that. So, I mean, if I, and correct me if I'm presuming wrong, but that's like third-class citizen. Like Kurd is already something that they look down upon, and then being a woman and a Kurd must have been immeasurable.
That's true. That's true. Totally.
But so the thing I wanted to get at is you were talking about some of the comparisons between the US, where we're at now, like the current climate, and you were telling me that school is pretty much off limits, like once you hit around 9, was it?
Yes.
Like, and can you tell me, so the reason I'm getting at this is she was talking about how they sexualize the children at a really young age, like again, like 9 years old.
Correct. Yeah, 9 is the age. That's the law actually for every single girls in Iran. When they are 9, they have a special day in school. They have to go. If you miss it, they'll do it for you the next day, the next week, whenever you go back. You cannot miss it. There is no way. Like, my family didn't want me really to see that day. But
so what did
as I say, even if they wouldn't send me to school that day, no matter when I would have go back to school, they would go through all that. They call it celebration of maturity.
Wow.
Okay. I mean, but what does that entail?
Well, a guy like with one of those religion ones, like the Ayatollahs, one of those guys, come to the school that it's already separated. We didn't have boys in the school, only girls, right? And we never had even men teachers, all women's, all girls, all women's. So this guy comes and tells you that your body is mature enough that in Islam you're ready to marry a guy, and how you should obey your husband, and how you should be ready for having sex with your husband. And if you don't, when your husband wants sex, if you don't, this is the punishment. You're going to this, and your husband have the right to ask for sex anytime they want. And they bring up all this ridiculous situations. It's ridiculous. I'm giving you an example. The situation that they talk with 9 years old girl, that they're like, if your husband, if we are in the war and we are traveling from one city to another, and we are on the camel. I swear, these are the true stuff. I'm not making things up. We're on the camel, and you're traveling with your husband, and if your husband wants it, you should obey him. Like, for 9 years old girl.
That's insane.
And that's the day that I started hating my body. I was thinking that I'm the only, you know, like, excuse my language, but I don't want to say it, but like, I was assuming that right now anybody is looking at me as somebody that can have sex with me. As a 9 years old, I didn't even know what is it. We were thinking the babies come from God or birds, or I didn't know nothing about it.
Wow.
But yeah, every single girl go through that in the school.
Wow, that's.
I mean, for me, it compares to what's, I mean, to speak to her comparisons, it speaks to the sexualization that's going on now. It's different, but it's
Different,
not so,
but totally same result will have on the kids. You know, like, as a person, your whole life is based on who you are, and who you are starts with your gender. Either you're a man or woman. You're going to get married, you're going to have kids, you're going to have a job, you're going to introduce yourself, you're going to sit in a restaurant. It's all based on how people are seeing you, and how you accomplish things in life is based on who you are. And again, we are only two, men or women. And if you are going to confuse that things, no matter, it's like telling me as a 9 years old that I can have sex right now. I should be doing this and that, and started hating my body, hating who I am, hating myself as a girl. I didn't want to be a girl. I really want to be like, my biggest fantasy, my biggest wish was like, I wish I was born as a boy. I didn't want to be a girl. I didn't want to be a woman. And that confusion hurts you. I didn't want to go to any relationship because I was thinking that, oh, these are the guys that grow up with this ideology, with this thing. So they think less of me. And they're telling you, and like when you're 9 years old, they're telling you that you're created for men to make their life better. This is something that it says in Quran. And even in rules, you are half of a man. Like, assume somewhere you need a witness. If you need one witness, you can take one man, but if you want to take a woman, you need to take two women, because women are half of a man.
Right. Wow.
And where you need two witness, you cannot have four women, because anyway, women's are less. And you cannot have four women as a two men. Anyway, you have to have one man, and then two women will make it for one man, just like for the sake of it.
If I may, is it so much? It's not so much the religion; it's more the culture that bastardized the half a woman. I mean, because I mean, essentially in Christian religion, Eve came from the rib of Adam. Like, I mean, you could easily make parallels from a religious standpoint. So is it more the culture, or is more the religion that?
Well, more actually, it's the religion. It's the Quran says all this, and then these rules in Quran become a rule in the whole country. And when they push it, when they force it, and when you're not following it, you're being executed. So your families are forcing upon you, so you don't, kill yourself over small stuff. Like, my father was not, like, hated, Quran, never taught us that, never practiced it, but he was always telling us, please wear your hijab, please do this, please do that, please do not talk with the boys in the street. So if you would have get arrested, you get killed. So so many people think that this is culture, but it's not really. It's something that you have to do. You have to, otherwise you get killed.
Yeah,
easily for nothing.
It sounds like a theocratic dictatorship where the military is the muscle. I mean, they're the police that carry this out. And I'm not an expert on the Quran or on Islam, but I remember hearing from someone who was that, I mean, that the whole thing with the 9-year-old as a woman being sort of educated in a way that we think is inappropriate. I believe that, doesn't that come right out of the Quran, because Muhammad married his like 9-year-old cousin or something?
Yes, he married a 6-year-old girl, and he said that 6 years old is not ready for sex, so I'm gonna wait until 9 years old. And so he had the possession. He had a possession of her from 6 years old. They got married when she was 6, and then he said that I had sex with him when he was 9. So that's exactly coming from there.
Okay, and as far as the origins too of the Quran, I'm no theologian, but I'm trying to, as far as dating it, like when this book is alleged to have been written by Muhammad, who was basically a prophet, but he was the prophet. He's sort of God on earth. Is that post-Christianity, or is it pre, or is it, because I'd also heard that in the Quran there are references to the existence of Jesus. Correct.
Quran is post-Christianity. Quran came, they're claiming that it came after. I mean, it did came after.
Right.
1400 years old, right? Something like that.
Yes, 14, exactly. 14.
No, it's just interesting because I don't know how much, as far as like Zeus is talking about the culture, and sort of some of the things in the Bible that obviously are outdated, or they're considered metaphors, stories, you know what I mean?
Right.
Most people don't believe everything in the book is literal. You know, the flood, the rib, etc. And I'm just wondering historically, if you even know, and I don't want to put you on the spot, it's just interesting to me that Christianity took hold so much in a part of the Middle East to the point where it spread to Rome and Europe,
Right.
and it destroyed polygamy, like God of thunder and God of this and God of that. Like all of that changed. Hello, Zeus, with Christianity. And I'm just, is there anything in the history that you know that caused Christianity? Because if it existed first, I'm just curious why it never took hold in a region like Iran, or had it at one point, and then it got, you know, was it phased out? You know, I'm just curious
Yeah,
to know. Maybe
yeah,
Mike,
yeah.
maybe you know too. I don't know.
Iran had so many Christians as well as the first religion. The common religion actually was Zoroastrian in Iran, and which at the time was called Caspian, and like part of Afghanistan, part of Pakistan, part of India, and even part of Soviet Union. All were, that big country, big empowerment, which the common religion was Zoroastrian. And
Right.
then when Christianity came, actually, Iran had so many Christians as well. They were practicing Christianity. But then in Ottoman time, they took over so many countries, including Iran, Turkey, and they went to even part of Rome, Spain.
Yeah, no, they
and
tried. That's when we had the Crusades and everything else to fend them off, right?
Yeah, they converted people by force, by killing the men and, getting possession of their wives and all that.
I would argue, though, even though that thing is in the Bible about the 9-year-old, but the Quran, it doesn't go on to say, okay, this is what you need to do to every single 9-year-old girl at the age of 9. So they're kind of like taking it and interpreting it a certain way and making up, some rules to go along with what they're reading there. So it's not explicit in terms of dictating that they treat girls that way at the age of 9. I don't think they're kind of putting that in themselves. And I can't say that Christians are innocent. That we've had, back in the Puritan ages, anytime you have a society that tries to follow the holy book by the letter, you're going to run into trouble. It's not a good way to live.
That's true. That's true. That's totally true. And I totally agree. It's the only reason, religion is supposed to make people a better life, make them peace, bring them peace. But if the authorities are worried about my situation with God, that's a questionable thing. Like, who you are to be worried about me if I'm going to heaven or hell. You make my life hell here, and you're worried that I'm going to hell or heaven. Authorities
wherever I go, it's got to be better than this.
Should never ever force it, because the way that they interpret it's all a tool to divide people, to make people in groups and fight, and same things
to maintain power.
To maintain power, and same things happen with a lot of different things. Like, if it's not Islam and Christianity, it's Democrats and Republican, it's this group and that group, it's this people and that, the ideology, anything.
Yep, that's what we started this show about, is tribalism is bad. Bad.
True.
It turns us into like computer language, binary, non-binary, not to get into that, but ones and zeros. That's correct. That's all we are when it comes down to that.
Unfortunately, and history is repeating itself. And it's so mind-blowing that how people are just so, I don't know, should I call them stupid? We people are stupid. We make the same mistakes. Within 100 years, you see the history is repeating itself. Like 40 years ago in Iran, how did it start? We were a normal country. We could talk about anything we want. We could question the authorities. We had everything that's, you know, normal country has, like in here right now in America. Like, of course, the technology was not as advanced, but I'm talking about the rights. We had every right. The only group that was not allowed to have activities was the communism groups. The only group. But then they fooled people with religion, with bringing you the free, like this is the Ayatollahs, you know, like things that they were proud of at the time, and they were fooled by. I bring you free utility. We are so rich that you don't have to pay for gas. We are so rich that you people shouldn't pay for water bills, and I'll bring you the safety. You don't have to be worried about your safety, getting out of your house.
You don't have to pay for your college tuition.
Correct. College, health insurance, and just bring up your guns. Same thing happening here.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, they took everybody's guns?
Yeah, you bring me your guns, I'll bring you the safety. I'll bring you this. Why we should trust the authority that much? Then who I am? Then why am I living? Then what about my ideas, the way of their living, my family, my home? What about that? People were just like, oh, okay, these are very nice people. They are, you know, religious. They probably are nice and kind. I remember my mother was telling me that, you know, if we would have take the guns to the police station, we would have get free meal.
How is that a motivation?
Yeah.
And then you've been starving ever since.
I want to get a word in because I haven't said anything yet. but Lena, welcome to our show, and welcome to the United States, and happy to have you both places. And we all got started on this by having a conversation with Zeus somewhere. So welcome to that club too. That's how we all ended up here.
I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know why. As far as just
that's very poignant, Mike. I like that.
Yes. Just to get some.
It's like a spider's web.
It is, man. He shoots the webs out, and then you're in, and that's it. But just for some perspective from timing and everything. So and pardon me if these questions seem dumb, but has it always, like what you're describing, has in your experience and in your mother's experience from what she's told you, and your father's experience from what he's told you, has it kind of been like this since 1979? Like it was like this right out of the gate, or did it start a certain way and it's degenerating into this, or has it been constant?
Correct.
Like
cyclical?
Yeah, didn't happen overnight. Yes. They were not forcing hijab. They were like the way that they are doing it now. You know how we started? Only in government buildings, which at the time, the only government building we had, it was court, police stations, some stuff. And then there were two group of people. The ones that they started like, my body, my choice. You cannot force a job on me. No matter where it is, even if it's your building, you cannot force what I'm wearing. And then the other group were like, oh, you shouldn't be really fancy and, worried about your look when you're going to government building. It's not a big deal. These people are really good. So just wearing that hijab is not going to do anything to you.
Yeah.
People gave up an inch.
Yeah.
And now they lost miles.
Yeah.
Miles. So started from the.
Well, I've got a follow up, and dovetailing on that, and that's a great point. Is in your estimation, and I know it's anecdotal because I mean but in your experience, if you had to guess, what percentage of the population of Iran not necessarily thinks exactly like you, but is sort of playing the game, like not really truly believing that what this government is doing is proper, but going along to get along, versus people that are like, the emperor has no clothes.
against the government. You talking about who is with government and who is against
Like
government.
like rough percentage. Like, is it 50-50? Is it 90-10?
No, no, it's like, I would say like minimum 80% of people in Iran, they are against the regime. And
Wow.
yeah. And
Wow.
and if 20%, if that 20% are not, that 20% are not the regular people, the regular mid-class people like us, those 20% is include big government's family members, like zero in regular people, zero. Nobody likes them. Nobody wants them anymore. But they have nothing to fight back. Nothing. They're hungry. They're poor. The inflation is from, I don't have exact number, but maybe you can do the mathematic. Car costs, one car, Iran still make the same car, same model. It's called Picon. It used to cost seven. I'm just saying it with dollar, but with Iran currency, it was $7. Now it's $7 billion. You do the math. Within 4 years.
That's a significant increase.
4 years. I cannot tell you the number, percentage. I cannot work with all that zero. I'm not that smart.
So
that's almost 100%, I'm sure.
Yeah, I would say it's at least 100%. But
it's at least 2 times.
This is just my own reading of history, and we've talked about this on this podcast before. Not necessarily just in Iran or just any one country, but just the human condition in general and countries in general. That, you know, when people are oppressed, they eventually, quote unquote, win, whatever that means, right? It's sort of like water. Water always finds a way. Water always wins. It, you know, erodes rock. It moves earth. It, you know, it will win in the end. And when you say 80%, I mean, I would say, I mean, that just doesn't sound sustainable. I mean, from the government's viewpoint, right? I don't see how that's sustainable over. Yeah. I mean, the sad part is it's sustainable for a certain amount of time with a lot of people suffering, right? I mean, they'll push it as long as they can push it.
Correct.
And that's really the question. It's like, are we looking at, is this something that can be dealt with now, or is it? I mean, I just feel like it's going to happen. It's entropy. Everything decays, and you can't hold back 80% of your population forever. You just can't do it. It's impossible.
Correct.
The problem is the wealth that 20% has. They can rule with an iron fist. They can, like, there's a dam, I think, that they just built, and they said it's gonna turn to salt. Like, they just dropped it. They just stopped building it, and like that immense wealth. We would never in the United States start building a structure as massive as a dam and then just call it quits.
Yeah, we would.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah,
we've done that actually.
The border wall. The border wall.
The border wall.
Exactly what I was about to say.
The bridge to nowhere in Alaska.
But we got what you're saying. Go ahead, Zeus.
Yeah, no, I'm
don't let the facts mess up your point that you were making.
But this is a minuscule country compared to the size of the United States. So a venture like that is far grander. In other words, be like the border wall. But the border wall, come on, that was never gonna really ever happen, I don't think. It was a lot of talk, but I didn't see any video of them with you know, caterpillars putting up walls. No, that's not really a fair argument to the letting a dam just fall.
Lena, do you believe, and because you kind of spoke to this a little bit ago, but is in your view, and it's just your view, it is the religion and the theocracy just a fig leaf to protect this tyrannical government regime, or is is the government like just true believers, like they just really actually believe this stuff, or is it just a tool to
No,
control
they
people?
don't actually. They don't actually, and all of their family members are, either United States citizen or United States green card holder, or even the other countries. And when they are here, people have spotted them. When they are here, they don't wear hijabs. They party, they drink. No, it's just to hold the power.
So this is top down. I mean, again, not to bring it in, we talk about this a lot, Lena, but this is like top down, central command and control. All the decisions are being made, at the top of the pyramid,
Correct.
trickle down to everybody else. I mean, it's tyranny is what it is. I mean, and it's horrible, and it happens all the time throughout our history, and throughout it's horrendous. And to your point, like you said earlier, like, why can't people see this? I asked myself that same question. I'm like, this has all happened before. Has like no one read a history book? Like, I mean, does not anyone see where this is going, or how?
Yeah. Unfortunately, people keep forgetting that we are, as a human, we are supposed to evolve. And even if I think this way, in 10 years, I should evolve whatever ideology I have, whatever thought I have. And if I go back and 10 years ago, think the same way that I am right now, it's questionable. You need to change. You need to evolve. You need to think out of box. You need to question things around you, and you shouldn't be really holding on to your ideology. Unfortunately, I don't know how, but the governments are keep doing this to people, deleting the history, and feeding people some kind of ideology to fight over stuff, fight over some ridiculous stuff. And so they divide it, they get offended from the other side, and that's how they rule, that's how they hold the power. And as I said in Iran, I'm just saying 40 years ago, it's not a long time ago. 40 years ago happened. And it's so ridiculous that I have people from Iran that, they were Iranian, now they're United States citizen. And now that they have been given this freedom, that they can think and they can have the right to talk and all that, they're against gun, for example. I see them. And I swear, one night we were at some parties and I knew this girl that is totally against gun and stuff. And then she was like, have you seen what is going on with Iran? This is so unfortunate. And all this people are talking about it. They want to be the voice of Iranians, but it's not going to do anything. If something, they're all bastard. If they're going to do something, they need to gather and send guns to Iranian citizens so they can fight back. I swear, I was like, what? Like, seriously?
Yeah.
And I asked her, why you are so against gun in here? And she goes like, oh no, here everything is check and balance. Nothing gonna happen to here. Everything is under control here. The government never gonna, fight with people. And it like all this. No, it never happened in Iran, like overnight. And little by little happened. And as I say, the hijab started from the public buildings and then go to school, then go to street, and now forcing it back. And little by little, they ask people to give up their guns. Bring your gun, I bring you the safety. I'll bring you the free. Nothing is free. Why you don't get a lesson? They started printing money at the beginning of their,
that sounds right.
And when you print money, it's you having more money, but my bank account values is the same thing. It doesn't go up.
Have you been watching our podcast, Lena?
Yes,
I'm just wondering, are you one of our subscribers? Because
there's a lot of correlations there.
I'd like to welcome our newest member of the Friends of Zeus podcast.
Well, it's not only in America, even Roman Empire totally actually went down only because of inflation, because the first thing they started hurting themselves was like getting the coins, the gold coins they had, melt it down, mix it with other metals, and make another coin. That's printing money. And then cutting edges, and that's like that's where they started hurting themselves.
May I ask you a question, Lena?
Sure.
In all, I mean, we've talked a few times. In all of our talking, one thing I've never gotten the impression of is that there's a middle class in Iran. It sounds like there's just the haves and the have-nots. There's not this middle group that is much like this group that's here, where we're, we've got voices. We can kind of, we're a buffer between the lower class and the upper class. Is that the case, or do you have? I don't know. Do you have a middle class?
I used actually middle class earlier, I said, but no, it's either very poor people, very poor, which is the 80% of the population, or the people with government, and depend how much you align your values with them, you are wealthier. And there is no middle class. There is no.
It's almost like a lower class, then upper class, and then lower upper class.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
You got it right.
One question which I've always been curious, and years ago, I mean, I don't know, when did he leave office? Like 10 years ago. Ahmadinejad. I can't remember his name. Yes, I'm sorry, I couldn't remember how to pronounce it. But I remember he seemed not like a reformist, but as an American and just someone that like looks at like world news, there's definitely something different about him. I mean, from my perspective, at least what I was being told, like in the news. What was his deal? Like, was he a party line guy? Was he not a party? Like, what was his deal? Because he definitely could talk to a camera. He definitely had more of an international presence than previous presidents in Iran had, at least in like international media. And then he kind of like went away. I couldn't even tell you who the president is in Iran right now. Like, what was his deal? Like, why was he so well known? I don't know. He seemed like he was like a force.
It's so funny that, even if people are voting in Iran, or they are choosing the president, it's all the game. None of them have, like any authority, anything to say stuff that hasn't been planned. All planned to. The protest started right before him, and then they brought him up so he can be like more toward young people. And he was, before he actually get elected, he was talking about like, our problems are not, hijab in this country. Our problems are not our young people having a girlfriend or boyfriend. We have a bigger problems. We have economy that we need to boost. We have this and that. And people thought, oh, okay, he is a good guy. He think about economy and stuff. Then they wanted him. They voted, even though they vote is not counted, and he was elected already. And he was the one actually that established the morality police.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he was a BS artist.
Yeah.
And he came up with all this, that, like, your hijab should be from like here, forehead, and should be this, you cannot wear, like all that ridiculous stuff, even though we always had it. But he established the big organization. They call it morality police. Actually, we always had it, as I said, always. But the big organization, he was the one that established it.
Wow.
So who chooses?
So fake.
Wow.
Who chooses the people that will be in power then? Is it the religious leaders, or the top ones,
or is it the military?
The top ones, with the Khamenei is one of the biggest ones. But what I believe always is that there are people like George Soros, there are people like JP Morgan, people that we don't,
The rich
and
people,
the rich people that we don't even know maybe their name, and they control the government really, which you haven't even seen their face once. But whoever the government is, one thing that I know, unfortunately, that West, the Democrats in America and in the West, actually, because they are the one that they want a big government, and they are the one that they want to control, to have a control of the whole world. And globalism, actually, they want globalism. So they are the one that they support them as well. They support this regime. They were the one, Jimmy Carter was the one that helped Ayatollahs to get in power, because Shah started talking about having, you know, oil independence and selling it for hire, and you know, he wasn't independent, he wanted the capitalism, and unfortunately they didn't want it. So Jimmy Carter, I'm quoting Jimmy Carter, he said Ayatollahs are the best savior for Iranians people.
Wow.
At the time, he said, and you know, they helped them, because nobody wants peace in the Middle East. It's like, when it comes to the country, you don't want peace in your people, you're going to divide them so you can control. And then when it's in a larger scale, it's the same thing. Like, the big power is West, which they don't want peace in the Middle East, and they have to, you know, divide them, and they have to have somebody that they can control, even though recently these ayatollahs are not as good, and they are 1% away from enriching the uranium. Probably that's why
you read my mind, Lena.
I was about to ask about that as well, because more recently the Obama administration was helping Iran to you know, reestablish its you know, a nuclear program. What do you think would happen if this government got a, you know, control of a nuclear weapon?
I seriously don't know, but I know that 80 million people are in Iran. They're gonna die in one night. They will kill everybody. They don't care. And if
Wait, Lena, you're suggesting that they would bomb their own country?
yes, they do. They will. Yes,
Right.
I am sure. I am 100% sure. And
Right, like
many
if
of the
there's
authorities have said it.
right.
They are saying it, that if we kill people because we're protecting our religion, it's not a crime. They're saying it. They're not afraid to say it.
Well, I just as far as protesters in Iran, especially if 80% of people are, let's say, unhappy with their current government.
Correct.
And you know, we're talking about these recent protests and how violent they've become, and like the world is getting a little more educated, not enough, in my opinion. What, if you know, what's the largest sort of protest that's been violently shut down in Iran? And I don't mean to put you on the spot again, but
I've heard that like thousands of people are getting out, and you know, like most of them are getting arrested, but never ever more than 5,000 people are getting out, unfortunately, because
I mean being put down, like executed.
Executed, they're saying so far. This is the 115 days of the protest, and they're saying so far 16 people have been executed, and 400 something been arrested. But
and there's like 14. I'm sorry. There's like 14 or 1,500 people just from the protesting that are in jail and are set to be executed.
Yes, correct. And they've been set to be executed. But when you talk with people in the street in Iran, like when I talk with my father, when I talk with my cousin, they're like, these are BS. Like, they're executing people left and
Yeah,
right.
and right.
It's not the right number.
I was going to
They're
say, I read
arresting people a lot.
I read an article that from December 22nd that put the number of people killed at 476.
Yeah.
And they said that was low. They were guessing that was low.
That's low. My father was actually telling me that there was a protest going on in like a couple of streets down, and one of the protesters actually they were trying to arrest them. One ran to one of the little alleys, and then this morality police followed them, but then they lost him. So what they do, just because they don't want to lose him, actually they start shooting at people's house, over the windows, over the backyard, keep shooting with rifles, shooting at people's house, just in case if this guy that they were following, they were chasing, have been, you know, jump into somebody's house.
Wow.
So they don't, like, you think it's this is the 115 days, and you think even if they killed 10 people each day, which is ridiculously low number, only 400 people have been died? No.
Yeah.
Have been killed? No. No, way more.
Well, thank you, Lena.
I was looking at this article. There's this rapper, an Iranian rapper. Now, this one was in prison, but another one was doing the same thing. He was protesting, and he was killed. But this guy, I guess he must have a bigger name. What was it? Tamuja?
Yes, too much, correct.
Yeah, and apparently it was rather benign. It was kind of like, why can't we all just get along, like Rodney King kind of thing. And now he's in prison, and he's on the docket to be hung, because apparently that's how they also do it. It's very public. It's very
I want to make an example out of them.
Nazi Germany. If anybody's seen Jojo Rabbit, it makes me think of the scene where the kid is sitting there and he looks over to his left and he sees the shoes, and it's his mom. Like they want it to be seen. They want it to instill fear. They want to keep the masses fearful.
Yeah, when they hang people, actually, they do it over the big cranes, and they do it early morning when people are going to work, people are going to school. And as I said, it's, you know, like maybe 20 feet high on the crane, so everybody can see them even from far away.
Wow.
And that's the reason they do it. They want people get lesson to learn.
And the World Cup soccer players also got into trouble.
Yeah,
I think all they did was they didn't sing along the national anthem, I think.
Well, they immediately got informed that the family members are arrested if they don't, you know,
come home.
If they don't come home, or if they don't even just
they say anything, right?
So they had to. But then one of the guys went back, actually, one of these soccer players, and tweeted that I'm not agree with whatever government does to these people, only that. And he's in jail right now, and they actually gave him 21 years.
Oof.
Only
and he's lucky.
Yeah, true. Not as lucky as me though.
And this, I mean, again, this is a state. This is a nation state that gets to, you know, speak at the United Nations. You know, that enters into treaties with other countries, that has ambassadors in other countries' capitals, and it's a tyrannical, authoritarian, like masochistic regime. You know, it's not. And the thing is, I mean, Lena, you're telling us a lot of specific stuff that we didn't know, but we kind of knew. Everyone kind of knows,
I
right?
know, true.
I mean, they don't have the details, but I just don't know where we're at in this world. Like we have to buy into this whole concept of a new world order and this utopianism, and we can't even get this straight. Like we can't even get people aligned to be against a state that's doing this to its people. I don't know.
I'm kind of ashamed of how we here in the US are reacting to this. Yeah, I mean, again, Tom and I were talking earlier, and he's like, yeah, there's tons of news, but I think it's so disproportionately low and to the degree of the depravity that's going on. I mean, women, again, hijab, just correct me if I'm wrong, Lena, but hijab is definitely more of the cultural thing, less of the religious thing, right?
I would say none.
Yeah.
No?
None.
Okay.
Well,
For
I've got
government
different
is
opinions.
for government is the power of control. For people is just being forced.
Yeah.
well,
I
and
just I
also,
liken it to like
also,
mass.
as far as the media and being downplayed, Zeus, I mean, we talk about the media all the time, and there seems to have been now for a little while, as far as American press goes and American culture, it seems like in general, regardless of the negative things we hear about Islam, the religion, it gets a pass. Like it's not really scrutinized or talked about in any kind of way that might suggest there's something wrong about it. You know, if a couple of if mom and pop devout Christians in America decide, well, my faith says I can't bake your wedding cake if you're a homosexual, right? We're going to have protests. They're going to be vilified. It's going to go all over. They may have to fight it all the way to the Supreme Court. But the Americans or our government, at the very least, is very aware of atrocities occurring in Iran, in Saudi Arabia, and in
Syria.
Qatar, for example, where we just had the World Cup. Well, yeah, Syria. I mean, you name it. And I think, you know, we talked about global powers and World Economic Forum. And Lena, I think you mentioned Soros and maybe some of the puppet masters behind the decisions that we make. On top of all of that, you have America's involvement over there for the last God knows how many years with Afghanistan, with Iraq. Like, I don't know what we would do to get involved to foster any like sort of revolution if there was a budding one. Or, you know, if the people said, look, America, we need help, give us guns, give us something, give us leadership. We've already tried to do that a couple of times. And we talked about like why is our government we already covered Biden's withdrawal from Afghanistan and how that was done horribly, right? I mean, did they have the balls to start something like that again? No, they don't. And if Iran soon gets nukes like we're talking about, it's never going to happen. That's why Lena's saying at that point, game over, right? I mean,
Well, Israel is not going to allow that to happen. I mean, that's them saying that.
Yeah, and
but why
you're
are
gonna
we
say that
why are we encouraging it? Why did Obama give
That's
them
what I'm saying.
why did
Yeah.
why did we give them $1 billion in cash on pallets?
My
Correct.
thing, Lena, a lot of what you have said, this is the stuff that like I wake up in the middle of the night like having nightmares about. Like that it's like a future that I see out in the distance for the United States. I really do. I don't
Yeah,
and I don't think it's that
unfortunately, and I agree.
extreme.
Same.
Yeah, I don't think it's an extreme thing.
Yeah.
But
no,
I'm
I was
sorry.
going to say, Mike, no, just on that point, because there's so many parallels. The thing that our government's doing that's the trick, I think, is that there's no religion. Like the government is the religion. The state will
You
take
got it.
care of the state will take care of all of your problems. We're going to give you what you need. You know, we're going to print money for you. We're going to make sure you get all the latest vaccines. We're going to make sure that you're safe and warm and all of that. And then we're also going to do all this little things over here insidiously in the name of the state.
Yep.
You know, I
You
mean,
nailed it.
and that's
like as you're talking, I'm picturing I forget the name. I think the name of the song is Mother from Pink Floyd, The Wall. Of course, Mother's gonna help build the wall. It's like
Yeah.
it's just this we're gonna take your guns and keep you safe, but from who? Oh, us.
right. Well,
You know what I mean?
some
The
people are
lesson
more equal than others.
We're
the
getting
lesson
there.
is there's a lot of people, and I don't understand it, and I really want to understand it, but there's a lot of people in the world. It's just part of being a human, I guess. Certain number of us want to have things figured out for them. And
yeah.
it's very seductive if you are a tyrannical group, singular person,
True.
force, party, to work that and manipulate that trait that a lot of
Unfortunately.
people have. I mean, I'd like that. I mean, I'd like to wake up and have my warm slippers and my bath robe that's already preheated and this water temp. I mean, that never happens, but I'm saying that would be fantastic. But that's not reality. But a lot of people, they it's the Pied Piper, right? They follow that, and it's like time after time after time, government after government, people after people. It doesn't even matter like where you're from or what it is. It is again, it's part of the human condition. And to me, where I struggle is, are people not seeing it, or are they seeing it and they're okay with it? And the latter scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And the former, it gives me some hope, because I'm like, okay, well, we can talk to these people, but I don't know. But I guess the thing is, Lena, what you're shedding a huge light on is it is Iran, but it's also, and it's what's going on in Iran, but this is something that is just it's going on all over the place. It's going on,
Yes,
and it has been
unfortunately.
again and again, over and over.
Yeah, unfortunately. And
Unfortunately.
it's so sad for me seeing things that I have witnessed.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot believe that, the most powerful men in the world within last 200 years are American. Everybody is talking about Americans, that they, stood up, they rised up, and they got, fought with government, the militia, that they took, their country back. Like, everyone knows it, and now they're attacking the act. They're bringing this ideologies. As I said earlier, we are supposed to evolve, and people forget that. They stick to one kind of ideology, and they never gonna admit that they were wrong. At the beginning of the COVID things, the pandemic, I was like, I was.
He's a natural. She's a natural.
Yeah, you're on the
Sorry.
show now.
I was scared too.
show.
I was staying home. I was spraying everything, we were getting for a month, because I thought, oh, this is America. We don't get the fake news. And after 1 month, I'm like, this is still going on. And seriously, I thought there's something in the air. But then I was the one that calling my friends and families, be like, hey, please be careful. There's something, coming from China and this and that. But after 1 month, I'm like, what the heck is going on? Nothing is here. We caught it. It's just like a flu. Even, for me at least, and it was, easier than flu. And I'm like,
I think everybody on the show, except for maybe Tom, did you get it?
I never caught it. No.
Yeah, but everybody else has gotten it.
Oh.
I slept for a couple days.
Yet more proof that Tom is a CIA operative.
Yeah, no, Tom. They gave Tom the real vaccine.
Yeah, as if we needed any more proof. Very convenient, Tom.
Lena, I have a question for you. So I know we're getting close to the end here. So what is the plan? Do they have a plan? What are the whispers like on the street? The people that are protesting, are they like kind of whispering back and forth? Are they putting together some sort of plan to do something bigger to finally end this, or what?
No, unfortunately, with my opinion, my experience says, I think it's gonna go for years and years. How long Venezuelans been fighting?
How long what?
How long
Venezuela.
Venezuelans been fighting?
Oh yeah, no. I mean, a couple generations now. Yeah.
So I would say it's the same case with Iran. I would say back and forth, because people have nothing. Within 40 years, they lost everything. They don't even know. Now, like the young generation are out in the streets, they wanted to change. But you know what their parents are telling them? That, hey, if this regime goes, who knows if someone worse doesn't come? Like
Yeah,
this is
out of the
not something.
vacuum.
Oh,
Yeah.
How
are
much
you
worse could it be?
serious?
How
Are
much
you
worse?
exactly? No education. Like I
that's
cannot even
despair. That's just
disgusting
Yeah.
people. How worse it's gonna get. And plus, what do you have to lose? You have nothing to lose. Just right.
I
They
mean,
have nobody, and
Well,
they're
also,
super scared.
also,
Not
Lena, also, you said something before about the internet and the lack of access. Like, how organized of a massive revolution can there be when
without
they can't communicate with each other?
correct. Correct. And not only that, like let's say it's like when there was no internet, people would have gathered and print things and just inform each other that when we're gonna gather, where, and what we're gonna do and stuff.
Old-fashioned.
Yeah, in an old fashioned, but that one is not even allowed in Iran, which I tell you, you couldn't even have a book of something that you want to read and it was illegal. I swear they would have find out. They're
do
really
they have,
good.
I'm sorry. Do they have, I'm betting that this is a yes. Do they have drones patrolling
Oh
there?
yes, yeah. They're
Yeah,
they're
figured.
they're really super controlling. They find out. My father was telling me actually 20% of people are out of the business because the internet is not working and people's business was depending on internet, like deliveries, like selling stuff, like all that. Or even we had something like Uber, but if your internet is not working, you cannot like work,
call
and
an
you're out
Uber.
of
Yeah.
20% of the business are out right now. And when you are poor, you have nothing, you are not educated, you are super scared because if you go out to the street, there's no guarantee you go back to home. And not only that,
God bless you.
I swear, I wish it was only that. I swear, I wish we knew that we just gonna die in the street only. But we know that we're gonna get raped. The whole family is gonna get raped. The whole family, they're gonna kill the whole family. So if I'm not scared of my life, I am scared for my sister. I am for my father. That's why there is no so many people out there yet. It's just the start.
And weren't you even saying that like homosexuality there, death sentence, right?
Yeah, dare you say you're gay or you. No, they hang people, and that's the law. They hang homosexuals.
Just mind numbing.
Lena, just again, I gotta thank you for being on here, and I couldn't think of a better way to start our second 100 episodes. And I'd really love to have you on again, not just on this topic, but for other topics that may be or may not be
honor. That's
related
an honor.
to this.
No, we're honored.
Lena, Tuesday nights,
anytime, open invite. But I do have a question, and again, just from a less political, but and again, if you don't want to answer it, that's fine too. But it seems like, I mean, you've been out of Iran for 6 years. It's got to be something that you're still dealing with. That's a very traumatic environment to get out of. And how do you feel like you're making progress as far as like kind of establishing yourself outside of that?
I still deal with the traumas, and I swear, I cannot listen to Iranians music. It just because it takes me back. I cannot.
Yeah.
It just brings the memories back, and I just wanted to. I know they're saying if you want to deal with the traumas in your life, you have to make a connection with it first. But for now, I'm in the, like probably denial. I don't know. I have cut it everything. I don't want to hear it. I don't even want to have any, like even the musics that I grew up with. I don't want to hear them. It was a horrible life situation, and I can go on and on and on. Like, as I said, you cannot even drink the things you want. You cannot eat things you want. What you expecting? Like, it was a horrible situation. But more than that, I have sympathy for people in Iran. I do care for Iranians people as much as I do for Venezuelans, I do for Chinese,
absolutely.
I do, you know.
People are people.
But I never felt home in Iran, and I never felt that I belong to that country. I never felt this is my home. We started fighting only for better life. It wasn't like I'm fighting for this land. I'm fighting. No, it was for a better life. I couldn't get it. I got out, and like we all know, America is the best country. I know it's not heaven, but it's the best country on the earth. And I really wanted to get here. And now I'm here. My nightmare is seeing the liberals here. That they have one ideology. They are so holding on to it. They don't want to hear anybody else. They get offended. And when you're talking, and they are keeping silencing people, censoring, shutting down people. And are you kidding me? Holding a license of a, you know, a doctor or psychologist? Are you kidding me? This is things that happens in Iran and Middle East and China. And if you talk, and if you question the authority, are you kidding me? That's my nightmare right now, actually, because this is my home. I'm an American right now, and I don't want anybody dies to save other nations. I don't want it. I don't want my friends, my families, my people to die over saving other people. If you want to save yourself, like 200 years ago that you guys did, Americans did, fight for your right. And if as a country, as another country, like America or Europe, they want to help, just don't send money to the government. Just don't make deals with them. Just like freeze their bank account if they have it with you. Don't give their people a citizenship, and just invite them and welcome them. That's it. That's how we should fight. But unfortunately, Obama and now Biden, unfortunately, I cannot go over that. They are doing that. But beside that, one other things that bother me is they are like, people always have idea. We never know what is going on behind the scene with all this rich, super rich people that we might not even know their name, right? But we have ears, we have eyes, and we can come up with some conclusions, we can think. But beside that, one thing that bothers me is the government is trying to divide people over Democrats and conservatives, and they keep fighting. And one side that I see is exactly doing the same thing that the Iranian government does is the liberals right now, that they are so upholding their ideology, which is not going to affect my life at all. Like, I don't care who you sleep with. I don't care if you call yourself whatever, I don't care if, state decide that you can abort your baby at 4 months or 9 months. These are the things that they just gonna make you people fight over it. What I care is when I go to grocery store, I come back with less materials. When I want to fill my tank, is super, super expensive, way more than that. So my personal life was better at the Republicans' times, because they're more thinking of Americans. People put America first. But seeing people here that they are so thinking over, like in theory, that it's super nice, but never happens in the real life, and they don't understand that, and they don't listen. But they see that how people are getting censored, shutting down, deleting. Like, I'm in the Facebook jail all the time. I put one post, swear, and they delete it, or they send me a message that I cannot reply back, and they're threatening me that, oh, you have done this before, now you are on the shadow banned, and people are seeing
double secret probation.
Or they just delete it, or they put the label on it. And
well, is it for vaccine stuff or what?
No, it's Zeus's area.
anything. Anything.
All kinds
I
of things.
post-
Okay.
See, Lena, the thing is, it sounds like you actually value the history, the values, the traditions of this country. And these people nowadays don't.
They don't.
They hate
Right.
him. They hate those
Unfortunately.
things. And
Unfortunately.
yeah,
These
and
hippies with their long hair and their loud music.
no, well, maybe it started with that generation. Maybe it started before that. I don't know when it started, but there's a whole
They don't
wave of
appreciate it.
people.
Yeah.
One thing I'm going to ask these people that in the history, you know that if there is a powerful side, powerful government, and shutting down people and deleting people's posts and censoring them, automatically you're going to assume that they are the bad side, right?
Not
Because
anymore.
they're filtering, they're censoring, they're shutting down people.
Yeah.
They're not agreeing. Just because you're not agreeing with people, you're deleting their posts. Are you kidding me? This is the freedom of speech. You are not allowed to talk because you don't think like me. Are you serious? And they don't even see this. Like, by just only seeing this stuff, you should realize which side of history you are.
I think this is your soulmate, Michael. She's
I mean,
I was going to say, preach.
But I mean,
she's kind of all of our soulmates. She's saying everything that we've been saying for like 2 years.
That's what
Oh
I
my
said.
God.
She's on the show now.
but that's what I'm saying. They've been working to not educate children in that stuff, you know. And Lena, I mean, to your point, like when you were saying, like, is this my country? Like when you're talking about Iran, and I mean, the thing that I love the most about America is, and I love, you know, the Grand Canyon and Mississippi River and all, but America is not a place. It's not dirt. It's an idea. It's a belief system. What I'm saying is, it transcends the terra firma that we're on. It's a belief among people that they can self-govern and that the rights of the individual are greater than the rights of the group. And
America.
you know, I'm just saying, but it's you know, it's something that all people want, and that very few, it's very rare that it works, you know. And that's what's so precious about this country. It's not about other countries being bad. It's just, I don't know, man. I mean, it's so clear to me. And Lena, like, hearing your story just makes it, you know,
Clear.
more clear.
And Lena's story is far from probably the worst story that we could hear about somebody.
I know, but I'm just
True.
saying.
True.
Yeah, you got
That's
out. You're
true.
lucky.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
I mean-
very, very lucky.
Mhm.
First that I got out. Second that I'm in America. Very
Yeah.
lucky.
Well, we're lucky to have you.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
are lucky
Lena.
to have you. Thank you for coming.
I was
Thanks for joining.
excited to have you on, and you came through full force. I'm really happy that the weird cosmic shit that happened, where I'm going up the UPS store to mail something, and just that whole connection. It's like, you know, you got to sometimes wonder if karma is for real, because this was a really, really great, poignant show. It's probably at points one of the sadder shows that we've done, to a degree. I was almost getting misty with a little bit of what you were saying. So, I mean, first of all, thank God you got here, because you are way too outspoken. You would have been unfortunate, I think, if you would have stayed very much longer.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, good
I
for you.
cannot be quiet about
Yeah.
anything.
And keep not being quiet.
Yeah.
Well,
Not being quiet.
Uh,
Absolutely.
that's the reason actually I wanted to join you guys, because I know there are people watching this podcast, listening to you guys, and my only hope, my wish, I'm begging these people, please do not give up your rights. You don't need a father figure. You don't need authorities to protect you from anything. And they will never, ever provide you anything free. Nothing is free. You will pay for it. And if they are selling it for free to you, you ended up paying way more.
Mhm.
And protect
You just didn't feel it at the
right.
time.
if you are, you know, like protecting the freedom of speech, it means you got to listen to people. You got to hear them out. If you're getting offended, you're not doing anything but just dividing people. You're not changing my mind. I have the same ideas that they have, no matter if you're getting offended or not. I'm the same person.
Well, if you're not offended, you're not evolving. You need
True.
that spark of different ideology, or maybe that's too powerful a word, but just that different perspective to maybe adjust yours. You might not even feel it adjusting your perspective. It might be you hear something, you take that little grain from it, you apply it to a story that you tell somebody else down the road.
True,
Not even
but don't
just
shut up the other side. Don't
exactly
think that you have a right to shut them down just because you're offended, just because you don't want to hear it, because it's not going to change anything. Hold on to
I
your
think you're
Second
American.
Amendment right, because one day, same government, when you are evolved, same government is same government, and start shutting you down. Oh, but I wish people would have heard us.
Yeah.
A lot of people buy into the hope and change BS, and that's just the way it was when everybody gave up their guns, you know, back in your country. And you know, we're dealing with the erasing of history. We're dealing with political issues that are all now going one way. The sexualization
Shockingly
of children. You know, there's a lot going on here. There are definitely some parallels, and I'm glad you recognize them. I mean, it's good to hear from someone who actually has had to live some of that stuff. I really appreciate you coming on personally. Thank you, Lena.
Oh, of course, of course. Thanks
Absolutely.
for having me. Thanks for having me. Again, I'm sure if any Iranians see this show, they would be, you know, like super, super happy that at least there are people out there that talking about them, being their voice.
We gotta restore that internet over there.
Yeah.
All right, Jack.
Thanks again. That's
no,
we've been on
for a while now, so I don't want to, but I guess it's time.
Yeah, we'll have you back.
Thank you. That's an honor. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Good night. Take care.
Don't go anywhere.
That's amazing. I mean, I'm really proud of that, actually.
We're not that dumb.
I know, but it would be so easy to do.
Yeah, our source of dumbness is more in stating things that are not fact.
Oh.
One of us does that.
Yeah. I mean, why else have a podcast?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, do we want to start, or are we going to wait for Jack another minute?
Start.
Yeah, I say roll along here.
Let's get this show on the road.
All right.
We need to bring up the energy a little bit.
I'll be doing that in a second.
Bring up the energy. All right.
I'm waiting for you guys until you ask me to talk. Really?
I think Zeus is chewing something. He's about to
This is my favorite episode. This is my favorite episode.
I'm waiting for Tom to hit record.
It's recording.
I don't. Oh, it is?
Yeah.
All right. Well, hello.